Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. Delighted to be joined by Julie Hedrick, president of the Association of Professional Flight Attendants. And you're busy. Today is a major day where you and your union are picketing at over 30 in over 30 cities at over 30 airports, demanding better wages, fairness, and everything that the corporate airliners have been holding back. Tell us how this came together today, because I'm looking online and it looks like there's hundreds, if not thousands of people picketing.
There are definitely thousands. And I can tell you it's 4 unions that represent flight attendants across this country. And actually, we've been picketing at 30 airports across the world today. And all of us are joining together because our CEOs are joining together. They're working together against us. They're trying to keep our wages down, and we've got to work together to raise our wages up and the quality of life. Okay, a lot's changed since COVID in our jobs. They've become a lot more difficult, a lot more productive, to say the least, because our airline specifically cut our staffing during COVID when we didn't have passengers or service. And then when the passengers and the service came back, they didn't return our staffing. So our flight attendants are working harder than they've ever worked. And they're working under wages that were negotiated back in 2014. And those wages now are really behind inflation. We haven't had a pay raise since 2019. So 5 years without a pay raise at American. And it's very similar across all of the airlines. Alaska is in negotiations, United's in negotiations, Southwest. We're all taking strike votes. Our strike vote was in August. Southwest just completed theirs. Alaska, today was their final day for their strike vote. They're all coming in at over 90%, are voting yes to strike. So flight attendants across the country and actually the world. We had also pickets today in Guam and in London. And we've had enough. We've had enough, and it's time that we are all joining together to fight corporate greed, and we're standing in solidarity together.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Congress gave the airlines a whole lot of money to keep workers on payroll. I do not believe they were giving that money for the airliners to then cut staff, squeeze as much juice out of the orange as possible, and basically screw you and screw the workers. Did Congress not attach any strings to that bailout?
Yep, they absolutely attached strings. The money was to go to the employees and not to management back then. But once we return to profitability, management is back to taking the bonuses that they've always taken. Our CEO took almost a $3 million bonus this last year, while his employees haven't seen raises in 5 years. Completely unacceptable.
Wow. Can you talk about the conditions on the planes? Because obviously with less staff, I've been on quite a few planes in my day. Unruly passengers, obviously passengers want things fast. Some could get a little hostile. How is it for flight attendants when you are doing more with less?
Yeah, absolutely. For us, as far as unruly passengers, it definitely obviously crept up in numbers during COVID. Pre-COVID, we really didn't see unruly passengers like we see it today. It's gotten a little bit better since COVID, but we definitely still see it on a very regular basis. When we go to work, we don't know what to expect. Right? We don't know if somebody's going to get mad over the smallest thing and, hit us, kick us. We've had, our lanyards pulled quite a bit. We've had flight attendants punched in the last couple of years. So it has changed dramatically. I will say that we are working harder than we have ever worked. And I will tell you that money that the airlines got during COVID, we are the ones who were out there talking to Congress, making sure that they passed the payroll support program so that the employees could still have their jobs. And so we did a lot of that work. And now, obviously, management is back to their old ways of they don't really need us anymore in that respect, right, to help them get the money. And now they're taking it.
Right. And could you kind of talk about just the contracts specifically? I saw Sarah Nelson wrote today, the biggest flight attendants contracts in the industry are headed towards a showdown. United, Alaska, American, Southwest. you all have your contracts kind of coinciding with each other.
Yes. So at American, we asked to be released by the National Mediation Board back in November. We were denied being released, and we have asked again in January. And so now we do have a meeting with the National Mediation Board March 13th, and we'll be able to meet with them face to face and be able to make our case for why we believe we're at an impasse and we should be able to exercise our right to strike.
Mm-hmm. And what are the airlines, American, like you've been talking about, what are they saying? Are they crying poverty? Why can't they raise your wages, benefits? What's the corporate line?
So I think that they want to just say status quo. Really, at the end of the day, they're willing to give us an increase, but it's not enough. 5 years without wage increases, 11% is not going to do it for our flight attendants. I can tell you that. You know, we're still, we would be far behind if it was only 11%. And that's the last economic proposal American put on the table. It's very similar across the industry. The framework that our airline has for negotiations is to match the highest in the industry. And today the highest is Delta Airlines, and that would be the 11% increase. And it's just not enough. And Delta is non-unionized. So listen, that's not a contract that flight attendants fought for. That's something that their airline just gave them. And really the only reason they gave it to them is because AFA is trying to organize Delta. That's why they gave them the raise.
Mm-hmm. And can you talk about, because you said that in many cases, you still have the same numbers from 2014. Obviously, there's been significant inflation. It's down a little bit, but I mean, grocery prices are still up. Electric bills are still up. Auto prices are not going down. So even an 11% increase does not get you that far, depending on where you're living as a flight attendant.
Listen, our flight attendants are having to make decisions daily on how they're going to eat, right? I just flew with a flight attendant last week. He had 9 days until our next paycheck, and he had $1 to his name. That is unacceptable today. Our flight attendants are working hard. He picks up overtime every single month, and not just a few hours. He is a new hire flight attendant, and so he's picking up about 60 extra hours a month just to try and make ends meet. And he's still left with only $1 in his pocket until payday. That is not okay. Our new hire flight attendants make $27,000 before taxes are taken out. We know Americans across this country are struggling. We know lots of working class Americans are going through the same battles that we are going through. And we are here and we're going to fight until we get the contracts that we deserve.
Do you think, obviously, there's a lot of people picketing today across, America, the UK, Guam. Do you think passengers, obviously they don't know every last detail, do you think passengers would be okay with the flight attendants basically, having $1 left to their name? I mean, we see a lot of people who enjoy Amazon packages, for example, have, once they learn what is done and what workers go through to get those products to them so quickly, I think the American consumer would not be so happy with this.
I agree. I think a lot of our passengers are working class Americans just like us. They support us. They know that we are there for their safety, first off, and their comfort to get to their destinations, either if it's a vacation or going to work. And we are seeing a lot of support from our passengers. For us at American, we wear our red pins. That means that we have a strike authorization vote that is yes. We also have red lanyards that we wear that we say we are ready. And we have bag tags that say we're ready to strike. So our passengers are seeing it. They know that we're not happy with with our management right now and what our contracts what's not happening with our contracts. And so we've seen a lot of support from our passengers.
And if there was to be a strike, is that something that could happen soon? What would be the determining factor there?
Well, we're very hopeful that on March 13th, after we make our case to the National Mediation Board, that we will be released to be able to go on strike. Now, after that, there's a 30-day cooling off period that we would be in super mediation and we'd be trying to still get a contract at that time. But if we didn't achieve a contract within those 30 days, we could possibly be released to self-help, which would be a strike. Now, there's also more to the RLA, meaning a presidential emergency board could be called, and that would extend that timeline.
And my last question, what do you think of the overall, I'm not going to say it's the heyday like the 40s and 50s of labor, but obviously there's a bit of a resurgence. You saw the UAW strike last year. You see, obviously, Amazon, Starbucks workers. We've seen, across the gamut, fast food, Frito-Lay, Nabisco, flight attendants, teachers. It seems like it's interconnected. We see different industries, different unions helping each other, supporting each other. What are your thoughts on kind of this, labor resurgence we're seeing?
Well, definitely we're part of the labor movement. I will say we've been out supporting the Writers Guild, the Actors Guild, UAW, UPS. Even though they didn't go on strike, we were supporting them to get the contract that they deserved. Our flight attendants here at American, I will say, are so engaged right now. I have a lot of them here with me today after the picket, and they were just talking about being out on the UAW picket line with them and talking about how we've now seeing them out at our pickets. Today, we had Unite Here employees. We had some pilots come also. We had agents show up for our picket. We also had bakers show up to our picket. So everyone is supporting each other because we all know we're all fighting for the same things, right? We are part of the working class, and we are tired of seeing this corporate greed amongst all of these different, it's not just our industry, we're seeing it everywhere, right? We're all having to fight for what we deserve. And with the threat of a strike, we've seen how that works for UAW, right? For the Writers Guild. So we really feel nothing has changed in the RLA. We still have the right to strike. They've kind of made it a lot harder on us to exercise that right. So we're going to push for that.
Thanks for taking the time. I know it's been a really busy day. Again, you have 30 different airports across the world. Thousands of people picketing. Thank you very much, Julie Hedrick, president of the Association of Professional Flight Attendants.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I really, really appreciate it.